Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
Designed to captivate. Designed to illuminate. The luxury sedan designed to outperform. Introducing the all-new M from Infiniti.
I want to see my fighter. Come on.
Kid, how many fingers I got up?
4.
What city are we in?
I don't know.
You remember what you did last night?
No.
Remember what I did last night?
No.
He's fine. It's all good. Let him in.
What can a horse wrangler teach us about retirement planning?
The real question is, why aren't more companies talking to women about retirement? Talk to us about your specific needs. Together, we can achieve uncommon results.
Life is important. Life must be respected, and the human dignity. And he feels, I'm sure now, in a very special way, that there is dignity even in the person who's suffering. There's dignity even in the person who's dying. And I think this is a lesson that we get from him. He shows us how to suffer, and he shows us even how to die.
And that, of course, was Cardinal Theodore McCarrick of Washington, D.C., speaking earlier today about his friend and his leader, Pope John Paul. Welcome back to Fox News. Continuing special coverage, I'm Chris Wallace. Pope John Paul is the most traveled pope in history. He visited 129 different countries, including 6 visits to North America. For more on the reaction here at home, we turn to our own Heather Nauert, reporting tonight from outside St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. Heather?
Hi there, Chris. Well over 3 million people worldwide come to St. Patrick's Cathedral to worship every single year, and today it's been no different. People from around the world, from Italy, from Ireland, from Poland, in fact, from Russia, and of course from the United States, coming here not just to pray for the Pope, but also to attend Mass. The Pope has been to the New York City area twice during his papacy. Now, the doors of St. Patrick's Cathedral closed a short while ago today, and the church was packed up until the very end this evening. This evening's Mass was more crowded than a normal Friday evening Mass, and during the service, worshipers here were asked to pray for the Pope during this time and think about his extraordinarily rich life as a teacher who continues to show us how to bear suffering and illness with such grace. Now, those coming in today to pray for the Pope reflected to us on what this Pope means to them.
He's been a wonderful spiritual leader, and I think he's brought a lot of comfort and solace to so many people.
The thing that I remember the most about him is that the way he touched the hearts of people of all faiths, that his words had meaning for all of us, and especially now at this time, that he doesn't seem to be afraid of embracing death.
And Chris, the prayerful here not asking for any kind of miraculous recovery, but rather simply asking that the Pope be comfortable as his health declines. Another thing that was said here today by many of the worshipers was that they simply know that the fate of the Pope is now in God's hands. That's the latest here from St. Patrick's Cathedral. Back to you, Chris.
Heather Nauert outside St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. Heather, thanks. For more on the reaction to today's events, we want to talk with the chairman of the Christian Broadcasting Network, Reverend Pat Robertson. Pat, welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
This Pope is very popular with Christian evangelicals. Why?
he reflected everything that we find is good in the Catholic Church and good in the Christian faith. We admired him tremendously. You know, I had the privilege of meeting with him briefly at Cardinal O'Connor's residence in New York when he was there, and I said, Your Holiness, we in America love you, and he smiled, but I reflected the feeling of the evangelicals and the people all around the world. Chris, I don't know of one single religious figure of our modern age who came close to him in public acclaim. He bridged the gap between all religions, and the people just loved him because of the kind of person he was.
But I think it's fair to say that there are tensions, even some suspicions often between evangelicals and Catholics. How was this Pope able to break down some of those barriers?
Well, his word reflected some of the deepest feelings that the evangelicals had. He was a profound believer in God and a profound believer in Jesus Christ and in the Bible and in the principles and teachings that we all hold as Christians. He upheld moral standards. I was so grateful, frankly, along the way to see his forthright stand on many issues that I personally hold dear. And, you know, I'm a Southern Baptist, and you'd think that there'd be tension, but in truth, it wasn't. And I have seen a drawing together because of this Pope. I think he and some of his predecessors have brought a rapprochement, if I can use that term, between Protestants and Catholics that has been very remarkable. He bridged the gap between us, and we'll miss him. It'll be a great blow to all of us to see his passing.
Fair to call Pope John Paul one of the great evangelists in religious history?
I don't think there's any question. I heard you say earlier the number of trips he made. He was just indefatigable. I don't see how he stood it. I saw what they did in New York. I was in the consistory when he said Mass in Central Park, and it was a light drizzle falling. He was out in the middle of that, and then he had a schedule that would have killed a person half his age and fatigued him, and he just kept going like a trooper. But he went to continent after continent, and huge crowds came out for him. So the Catholic Church I don't think has ever had anybody like him.
Let's go back to what you were saying earlier about the Pope's traditionalist image. Some Catholics found him too conservative, especially on issues such as birth control or the role of women in the church. I found him out of step with the modern world, and yet wasn't part of the appeal to evangelicals like yourself his orthodoxy, the fact that he was old-fashioned, if you will?
Well, we see many of the traditions of the church slipping away. We see people cutting corners on morality. We see things that frankly are appalling taking place in our society. And this man stood like a rock. Yes, that's one of his appeals. But the amazing thing about him was he appealed to young people. We think that young people would be put off by somebody who was a more traditionalist, but they flocked to him. Remember they used to chant, I think he was in South Carolina, it was John Paul II, we love you, and it went on and on and on. These were kids, college students talking to him.
You know, it's interesting, we were talking with Fred Barnes on Special Report today, and he quoted Richard Land, who at one point said, this guy knows how to pope. I mean, from one preacher to another, did you just admire his skills?
There's no question about it. But I think it was genuine. Again, I was in one of those audiences over in the Vatican. I saw adoration from people. I have never seen anything like it. But he did know how to pope. But there was a dignity about him, but there was a quiet calm and love about him, but there was a deep devotion. I think we want religious leaders who really, really love the Lord. And he really loved the Lord. And it reflected a deeply spiritual man, constantly in prayer, constantly ministering to people, constantly taking care of the poor and the needy, that kind of thing. That's the kind of leader that Christians want.
Is this, Pat, a sad day for you, or do you see it more as a celebration of one truly remarkable life?
Well, it's mixed, Chris. I'm very sad when I think of the legacy and think of the difficulty of replacing him and think of the loss we'll all feel. It's very sad. But for him, I grieved at him. He would be out there trying to speak and trying to bring a blessing, trying to say Mass and to go through his duties, and he was obviously so terribly infirmed. He had Parkinson's. He had these other maladies that were afflicting him, and you suffer with him. And I mean, the Lord has a wonderful reward for people like that, and I think he deserves his eternal rest. He's worked very hard, and he deserves the very best that can come to him. So it's part of a celebration for one who's going home, but at the same time, yes, we're very sad.
Pat Robertson, we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and for sharing your very special insight.
Thanks, Chris.
We're continuing our special coverage of Pope John Paul II's fight for life. Coming up next, we'll discuss this Pope's legacy, both for the Catholic Church and the rest of the world. And we'll take you step by step through what happens after the Pope dies. Stay tuned.
Performance and handling like a car. All-wheel drive capability like an SUV. The totally new Ford Freestyle. One vehicle, endless possibilities. Ford, built for the road ahead.
I don't look at myself as a basketball coach. I look at myself as a leader who happens to coach basketball. When they get out into the workplace, they're armed with not just a jump shot or a dribble. I want you armed for life. You know, I want you to develop as a player, I want you to develop as a student, and I want you to develop as a human being. My life isn't about playing games. That's why my card is American Express.
The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine. Till the warm-up's underway.
Wherever business takes you, Best Western is there. Best Western, the world's largest hotel chain. Now stay 3 times and get a free night on a future stay. With MasterCard, get a free night after just 2 stays.
Come on now. Getting the exercise that's good for her heart.
Go get it.
Doesn't always interest your cat. Getting something good to eat does. Indulge her heart with new Iams Select Bites. 7 essential nutrients help keep her heart healthy. And it's slow cooked-in broth to keep her taste buds happy. That's living in Iams years. New Select Bites. Iams, good for life.
At Northwest Natural, we could have made your gas smell great. We could have made it smell like homemade cookies, for instance. Or sweet basted barbecue ribs. But natural gas smells like rotten eggs. We made it that way for a reason. Smell rotten eggs? That could be a gas leak. Leave your home. Then call Northwest Natural at 800-882-3377. Call 800-882-3377. We'll come and make sure everything's safe.
This is a phone jack. It's a fact that all phone jacks are alike. When you plug your computer into it, it takes you to the same place, the internet. Same phone jack, same internet. So why do some companies jack up the cost of internet access to twice the price of Net Zero? With Net Zero, you get the same internet for only $9.95. So don't let anyone jack with your price. Net Zero, internet access, only $9.95. Go to netzero.com.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the events in Vatican City today. I'm Chris Wallace. Still to come tonight, the head of the Catholic Church was also a head of state. Congressman Henry Hyde will discuss the important role the Pope played in international affairs. But first, joining us now to discuss the Pope's legacy for the Catholic Church is the editor-in-chief of the National Catholic Register, Father Owen Kearns. Father Owen, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
You were fortunate enough to spend some private time with this Pope. Tell us about the man. What would surprise us?
Well, I think first of all it was his humility. I met him first when I was a seminarian. I served his Mass, first Christmas Mass, where he told everybody, burst open the doors to Christ. And then after he had finished that, speaking to the city of Rome and to the world, he went back and he spoke to the seminarians as if we were the most important people in the world. And you just know you're not, but for him, we were. And it was individual, eye-to-eye contact. I told him, look, Holy Father, we're the legionaries of Christ, and we're also legionaries of the Pope. And he held my right hand in his left hand while he was greeting the next two and really pondering it, thinking about it. And he said, of the Pope, only insofar as Christ uses him. So not, oh yeah, of the Pope, of course, I'm the Pope and you're my legionaries. It was a very humble man who was willing to be used by Christ and on those terms to be accepted and to be served. And he was also very, very human. He visited our House of Studies, the seminary we have in Rome in 1981, and the founder had himself and the Holy Father at the main table, and then seminarians, not the major superiors. They were often at a table by themselves, so the Holy Father could just relax and not worry about business. So I was one of those who was selected. I was the Irish guy at the table, and we had seminarians from around the world. And the band played, among other songs, Frank Sinatra's My Way. So one of the American seminarians said to him, Holy Father, that was the head of the hit parade for 6 months. And the Holy Father said, no, it wasn't My Way. It was Strangers in the Night. So here's a man who was familiar with pop songs and their impact on culture and who knew all about it.
You're kidding. He was aware of what was going on in Frank Sinatra's recording career?
Yes. Yes, he corrected the American seminarians' mistaken affirmation.
Let me ask you about this, Father Owen, because he was a remarkable man. I mean, this was a true intellectual who earned 2 doctorates, spoke a couple of dozen languages. He was a vigorous athlete who we saw climb up mountains and ski down them. He was a truly charismatic figure. Do you think he liked being Pope?
I think he accepted it in faith. And when you do something like that, if you are deeply a man of faith, that affects your psychology. It has to. You don't undertake it grudgingly. Yes, I believe God is calling me to this, but what a terrible burden, what a poor fellow I am, and how much I have to suffer. No. He accepted, okay, God wants me to do this. That means he knew what he was doing. He has been preparing me all my life for this. And so I have what Christ wants me to have. I have what God wants me to give. And so he was very confident. He was very, very confident. Bishop Worrell tells the story that he went to the Vatican in the days after the Holy Father was elected to retrieve some of his notes from there. And he heard the Holy Father coming down a corridor with the secretary, so he hid in an alcove because he didn't want to, make a fuss and present himself over nothing. So as he was going by, he heard the Holy Father say, I know that. I'm the Pope. That was the kind of attitude that he took to it. He knew what he was doing.
And do you think that because this was a man who had so many interests, I mean, he was a writer, he was a playwright, and once he took on the burden or the opportunity or the mission, I suppose is the better word, in 1978, the rest of his life was dedicated to the church and to the service of Jesus Christ. Do you think he ever felt trapped in the job, or do you think he never allowed himself to even think about that?
I think he declared his independence, and he refused to be trapped by many of the trappings of the papacy. Of course, it's an enormous burden. You can't escape that, and the responsibility, he shouldered it, and he felt it. He would often be heard groaning in prayer in the morning. He would pray before celebrating Mass in his small chapel when he didn't have to celebrate Mass in St. Peter's. So those who were invited to concelebrate with him or those who were invited to attend the Mass, they could see him in prayer groaning. That's a man who's shouldered a responsibility and feels it and feels the weight of it. Of course he did. But he was very independent of things. And to me, that was something that came across in a very simple, symbolic thing when he was appearing as Pope for the first time in St. Peter's Square. And he came down to the edge of the sloping steps to say hello and to bless the people there. And then he went back up, climbed back up the steps. And as he did, this papal aide was an elderly Monsignor who used to help Paul VI and Pope Luciani, John Paul I. He was holding on to the Holy Father's vestments and supposedly helping him, and in part actually leading him because he was quite elderly. And the Holy Father just shook free of him and walked up on his own. And I think that external sign reflected an internal attitude. I know what's needed as Pope, and you don't have to hold on to me. You don't have to hold me up.
And for 26 years, no one ever did until perhaps these final days. Father Owen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Been a pleasure being with you. God bless.
Coming up next, we'll talk about the Pope's travels and his work for peace beyond the walls of Vatican City. And we'll walk you through what happens when the Pope passes away. Back in a moment.
benefits of tax deferral, it's always the right time to open an IRA. Call 1-800-FIDELITY to open your no-load, no-fee IRA today. Smart move.
The all-new Audi A6. It's greater to lead than follow.
Good news for those with arthritis pain. Reports are out about an independent government panel, according to the New York Times.
Several panel members said that patients in need of pain relief should first try naproxen, sold as Aleve.
Forbes.com says,
the committee considered naproxen to be the safest NSAID from a cardiovascular standpoint.
Dow Jones Newswires writes, one member said,
naproxen is probably one of the safer pain medications on the market.
Ask your doctor about the good news. Ask your doctor about Aleve.
Can you control your destiny? Can you do it with a spoon? Each morning we choose. We say, I'm hungry, or, cookie dough. This is a turning point. So you pour honey-toasted Kashi Go Lean Crunch with twice the protein and fiber to help you feel healthy, not hungry, all morning long. You like this Go Lean Crunch feeling. Could every day be a good day? Kashi Go Lean Crunch. See how far it takes you.
The Pope in grave condition as the Pontiff struggles with a serious health crisis. We're in Vatican City with live reports and all the latest developments. For continuing coverage and analysis of the Pope's health, stay with Fox News Channel. Tonight, stay with our special continuing coverage. The world watches over Pope John Paul II. As events unfold, our team is live with news as it breaks. For the very latest on the state of the Pope, stay with the Fox News Channel.
Welcome back to Fox News Channel's special coverage of the life and legacy of Pope John Paul II. Coming up, two Vatican experts will guide us through the mysterious process of electing the next pope. But first, as a Polish citizen elected pope during the Cold War, and then the most traveled pontiff in history, John Paul became an international statesman as well as a religious leader. Here to talk about all that is Illinois Congressman Henry Hyde, chairman of the House International Relations Committee. And Congressman Hyde, welcome.
Thank you.
Pope John Paul clearly was a political giant of the 20th century. What role, how important do you think he was in toppling the Soviet domination of Eastern Europe?
Well, I think the turnout of the people in Poland during his visit was the coup de grace to the communists. They they couldn't withstand General Jaruzelski. They couldn't stand up to the overwhelming sentiment that seemed to crystallize during the Pope's visit there. I think Mikhail Gorbachev even said that the demise of the Soviet system might not have occurred without this Pope, referring to John Paul II. So I think he had a lot to do with it. He was an authority figure, and he was not at all intimidated by going right into the heart of the opposition. He did that in Nicaragua, even lecturing members of the government. He did it in Cuba and other countries, and I think he was a tremendous force for good. I should say he is a tremendous force for good.
And part of what he did, Congressman Hyde, is he helped make the church a kind of safe haven for opposition to communist domination, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He made common cause with freedom fighters around the globe. He made human rights and civil rights preeminent in his agenda, and we all took comfort in that.
Ronald Reagan viewed this Pope as a fellow soldier in the war on communism, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He always got a twinkle in his eye whenever he referred to the Pope, at least privately when I was present. They were kindred spirits, at least kindred spirits.
Well, I suppose they were, in a sense, they were both larger than life, and they both had very much the same values, didn't they?
That's right, and we're still searching for replacements for these few wonderful people that mean so much to the rest of us who need the reinforcement of these authority figures, and that will be a tremendous loss, as the Reagan death was a loss. The Holy Father's death will be equally serious.
Let's go back to that trip, that memorable trip to Poland in 1979, this first Polish Pope going to visit his homeland just a year after he had been elected Pope, going into the very heart of Warsaw and holding these masses, these masses, if you will, in which 1 million people, someone was saying today that 1/3 of the population of Poland went out to those masses, and the communist authorities were really helpless to do anything about it.
That's right. The tremendous political power wielded by masses of people turning out. We've seen that in the Middle East. We've seen that in Ukraine and Lebanon, and they're echoing what happened in 1979 in Poland. The people will be heard, and with courageous leadership and incentives, they come forward. So this Pope deserves enormous credit for developing the momentum that ultimately resulted in the demise of the Soviet system.
You were fortunate enough to meet this Pope several times. How did he discuss world affairs? Was it primarily in a strict moral sense of right and wrong, or was he interested in talking about the complexities of international relations?
Well, I wish I could say I had lengthy discussions with the Holy Father. I have met him several times, but they were usually just casual discussions. We talked about the scourge of abortion in America. We talked about mutual friends, but I never had a long philosophical discussion with him about politics, much as I would have loved to have done that.
Congressman Hyde, we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next, we'll hear from 2 Vatican experts on what happens in the days after the Pope dies. Then we'll give you a preview of the papal election process. How does it work, and who are the front runners? We'll get into all that as Fox's special coverage continues.
So what can you tell me about this perfect real estate agent?
Well, she has a lot of experience.
And lots of sales.
She knows our neighborhood, the schools, maybe speaks a foreign language.
Icelandic.
This could take a while.
Finding the right real estate agent shouldn't be this hard. At RE/MAX.com, you can search the industry's top sales force for the agent who's just right for you.
Maybe we should call up their surveillance teams?
Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
If you decide to quit smoking, you're not alone. Quitting is hard, but millions of people have succeeded. To help you find your own way, get a free copy of the Quit Assist Resource Guide. It points the way to expert quitting information, websites, guides, quit lines, what has worked for others, and more. It could help you find your own path to success. Quit Assist, a free resource from Philip Morris USA. Call or log on.
ArcaX, the world's largest fully electronic stock exchange.
You are looking live at St. Peter's Square, where there was, several hours ago, a huge crowd of more than 75,000, but of course now it is 4:41 a.m. Saturday morning in Vatican City, and as you can see, there are only a few people left, a few of the faithful, but you can be sure the crowd will come back in force tomorrow morning, or this morning there in Vatican City. Those two lights up in the center of the screen that you can see are in the papal apartment. Those are lights in the papal study, and it is believed that they will stay on as long as the Pope is alive, and when he finally does pass away, those two lights up in the center, upper part of the screen, the doors will be shuttered, the lights will go out, and the Pope will have passed away. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of Pope John Paul. I'm Chris Wallace in Washington. Coming up next, we'll gauge the field of possible successors to inherit the enormous legacy of Pope John Paul II. But first, what can we expect in the days to come? Joining us now is the president of Ignatius Press, theologian Mark Bromley, and Georgetown University professor and Jesuit theologian, Father Robert Drinan. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Father Drinan, whether it's tonight or tomorrow or next month, there is a process in place when this Pope dies, a process that has evolved over centuries, and a process which the Pope has helped reshape, both for what happens after a Pope dies and the next Pope is selected. Father Drinan, if you will, lay out some of the key moments and what we can expect after this Pope passes away.
Well, it's a very sophisticated process, actually, built through the centuries. Maybe it will be over in 20 days. One new thing that this Pope added was the diminution of the number required. After a certain number of days, you don't need 2/3 anymore, a simple majority. But I think the larger question, aside from all the technicalities, is should they even think of adopting or electing a non-European? For 2,000 years, the entire history of Christianity, the popes have been European. And for 400 years, they were Italian. This is globalization in this country and in this world as never before. It'd be fantastic if they elected a non-European, somebody from the Philippines or Latin America or an Asian. It would change completely the image of the Catholic Church.
And let me bring you in, Mr. Bromley, and ask you about that, because You know, it's so interesting. I was noticing today that while there has been this explosion, largely brought about by the Pope, of Catholics faithful in places like Latin America and Africa and the Philippines, still fully half of the cardinals, the 58 of the cardinals who will actually select this next Pope, in fact, are to come from Europe. Do you think there will be some pulling and tugging as to whether it's a European or non-European Pope?
Well, certainly John Paul II has moved us in the direction of a more broadly inclusive College of Cardinals, and I think the cardinals who are members will be thinking in that direction. There are different theories here. I mean, there's the non-European versus the European theory. You know, the non-European theory says this is a global church. That should be reflected in the papacy. The European theory says that Europe is struggling over its Christian identity, its Christian heritage, and if a European is elected, perhaps we'll see a strengthening or a return to a more Christian understanding of Europe's heritage. So you've got that debate back and forth. And I've got my own thoughts. I want the man whom the Holy Spirit selects, whether he's a European or a non-European.
Father Dronnin, I can't help but note that you experienced the authority of this Pope back in 1980 when you were a member of Congress, and the Pope made it clear he did not want members of the clergy holding political positions. Did you feel that you were being taken to the woodshed?
Oh, by no means. That's a change in canon law. It's applicable to the whole world. That had been in existence for a long time. I had permission from Cardinal Cushing to run for Congress, and I had 10 years there. And evolving in Catholic theology was that idea. There was 3 or 4 Catholic priests in politics in Latin America, and there was some objection to them, although many praised their work of bringing about justice. Now, that's an evolution in Catholic doctrine or Catholic teaching.
And did you just view it that you two saw it differently, but he's the boss and so be it?
Well, it's more complicated than that, what do the Jesuits think and all of that. I just think that rational people can differ on this, and that he has said that priests, and he added nuns, can't have any political task, whether elected or appointed, and history will judge whether that was too narrow.
Professor Brumley, let me finish with you. This Pope, because he served so long, actually appointed 97% of the cardinals who will choose his successor. Does that necessarily mean that whoever is chosen as Pope will follow in the footsteps of this Pope?
Not necessarily. It certainly means that the successor is more likely to do so, but there's no guarantee. And in the history of papal conclaves, there have been lots of surprises. So we certainly think that it's probably the case that, in broad strokes, the vision of the Church, the direction of the Church that the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, has set will be reflected. But, you know, lots of people can interpret and apply that differently, so I expect that we will see coming out of the conclave certainly surprises. The line has been used. It's used so much I'm almost afraid to use it, but, you know, in regard to all the speculation about who's going to be the next Pope, the line is the man who goes in, a papal possible, comes out a cardinal. And so we have to keep that in mind. God has his way of working beyond what our calculations can lead us to conclude.
Professor Brumley, Father Dronnin, I want to thank you both so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next, who may be selected to try to fill the very big shoes of Pope John Paul? We'll try to answer that question in a moment.
This program is brought to you by Alivert. Try quick dissolving Alivert allergy relief.
How fast can Alivert start treating an allergy here?
This fast.
What about here?
This fast.
And here?
This fast.
That's because quick dissolving Alivert starts dissolving the instant it touches your tongue, without water. So you can take Alivert wherever you are. Try non-drowsy 24-hour relief that dissolves fast, without a prescription. Alivert, allergy medicine right when you need it, wherever you are.
If you have great credit, shouldn't you get a better rate on your home equity line? At eLoan, you do. We process your loan differently, online. That costs less, so you get a great rate with no lender fees. Apply today. 'em. At eLoan.com.
place is a good place to change your hearing aid battery. Try the Energizer Easy Change Battery Dispenser. Here on.
Global web entrepreneur Neville Smithington viewed excess healthcare costs with the same contempt as an overweight alloy on an Aston Martin. Forthwith, when self-directed insurance became available, Neville goosed the throttle, leaving the aging artifice of traditional healthcare to eat this dust. Vroom, vroom, HSA. Rome. The Regent's Health Savings Account. Take charge healthcare, but take charge people.
Now you can skip retail and buy almost anything for your home direct at insider prices, just like the stores do.
We saved approximately $5,000.
$6,000, $7,000.
We saved 30 grand. We have saved about $65,000 on cabinets for our house.
How is this possible? How can you buy like the stores do? It's simple with Direct Buy, America's #1 way to buy direct for your home. It's an entirely new way to buy home furnishings, cabinetry, carpeting, lighting, bathroom fixtures, appliances, electronics, just about everything and anything for your home, all available at confidential insider prices.
Direct Buy is a private, members-only showroom and design center. Direct Buy members have stopped losing the money you pay in retail markups.
Join the insiders who are already enjoying the many benefits of buying direct.
Call the number on your screen now to receive your free information sheet along with a free visitor's pass to attend an upcoming open house tour of the Direct Buy showroom.
Come join us this year at the Giusti Golf Tournament to help drive out cancer.
Century and Thriftway present the 25th Annual Lambs Markets Giusti Memorial Golf Tournament. 5 days of premier golf action with the top Pacific Northwest PGA pros April 21st through the 25th at Riverside Country Club.
The winners are family, loved ones, and friends when we make that final putt to eradicate cancer.
Catch all the highlight action on Comcast CNW 14.
And welcome back. This is special coverage of the life and legacy of Pope John Paul II on the Fox News Channel. I'm Chris Wallace. When this Pope was elected back in October of 1978, he was the first Pole ever to hold the office and the first non-Italian Pope in 455 years. Will the next Pope continue to reflect the growing global church? Joining us now is Catholic theologian and author Michael Novak, and the news director of the Catholic News Network, EWTN, Raymond Arroyo. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Great to be with you. Good to be here, Chris.
Mr. Arroyo, let me start with you, and let's talk about some of the so-called papabili, the men who might be Pope. And first of all, the Europeans. Who do you think, Mr. Arroyo, is the leading Italian candidate at this point going into the conclave?
Chris, this is a parlor game that if I start engaging in, we could be here all night. You know, there's so many men who could certainly fit the bill. I'd much prefer to talk about what the man might look like rather than who he exactly might be. Certainly you're going to have someone who can reach out across generations, across countries, an international figure, and hopefully a man with some charisma. He will not be able to be a bureaucrat that stays behind the cloistered walls of the Vatican. I think John Paul has definitively ended that type of approach to the papacy. I think you're going to have someone who is winsome, holy, has that ability to bring together and heal the factions we now feel in the Church coming out of the post-Vatican II period. But I don't think you'll see a person, there's lots of talk about theological departures from John Paul II. I think you're going to find this will be an older Pope and someone who will continue in the trajectory John Paul II has established in clarifying what the Vatican Council meant and what the future of the Church is supposed to look like.
Michael Novak, do you want to play the parlor game and name some names?
Well, you know, I do want to give a warning that I've seen John Paul II up close a few times, and this is one tough man. This is a man whose internal constitution is like a solid Polish oak. He can't control his facial muscles and his droop a little bit because of the Parkinson's, but he's buried an awful lot of people who predicted he was going to die in the last 10 years. So I wouldn't be surprised even now if he clings to life somewhat longer than anybody's expecting at all. And then I want to pick up something someone said in the last session that if you tried to pick of the last four
popes of my adulthood. I started with John the 23rd at the beginning of the 1960s, and my wife and I were married on the day that Paul VI was in 1963 was crowned Pope. Then John Paul I, and then John Paul II. 3 of those 4 nobody would have predicted. Everybody was totally surprised. One was pretty predictable. It was Paul VI. He'd been Secretary of State. He was a well-known figure around Rome since the early 1940s. The early 1940s, and so he was, he was handicapped, and it turned out he was late. That doesn't happen very often. There's another tradition worth thinking about in human terms. After a long papacy, there's been a tendency to elect an older man in the thought that there'd probably be a shorter papacy. But that doesn't always work either. They elected Leo XIII at the age of 68 back in the 1870s, thinking he'd have only a couple of more years because he was very old and frail. He lived 25 more years. He lived to 1903. It was one of the longest papacies. In fact, John Paul II just passed him in the last 20 months or so.
Mr. Novak, we have to break in here for a moment, but we'll continue our discussion on the other side of this break. And our special coverage of Pope John Paul continues in a moment.
The Pope in grave condition as the Pontiff struggles with a serious health crisis. We're in Vatican City with live reports and all the latest developments. For continuing coverage and analysis of the Pope's health, stay with Fox News Channel. Tonight, stay with our special continuing coverage. The world watches over Pope John Paul II. As events unfold, our team is live with news as it breaks. For the very latest on the state of the Pope, stay with the Fox News Channel.
The 2005 Mercury Montego. Lots of versatility, lots of room. Better load up on quarters.
Hey, I'm Jimmy.
I'm Terry.
I'm John. And I'm one of Earthlink's 2,000 employees.
I'm your internet service provider.
Your ISP. I am not a giant server in an air-conditioned room. I'm a living, breathing, hardworking internet person.
Just like you.
I'm watching out for you on the internet 24/7. We've created Spam Blocker,
Virus Blocker,
Spyware Blocker,
Scam Blocker. If there's a problem, we create a blocker for it.
We love our jobs. We love what we do, and we enjoy it.
We're here to protect and serve you.
More speed, more security. That's Earthlink. Earthlink, we revolve around you.
I want to stop all violence.
Ernest lives on the most violent street in the city of Buffalo.
Without partners in life, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. And that's why I think Target has been such a great influence on our foundation.
I had children that were reading 2 years behind grade level.
I'm doing better in math and social studies.
Tiger and Target taught them to believe that they were possible.
It made me feel like I could do something in my life.
It's amazing what can happen.
You are unique. Raymond James Financial Advisors know this. With one of the most comprehensive ranges of financial services and a culture of independence, they have the freedom to offer unbiased advice that's right for you. Raymond James, individual solutions from independent advisors.
Welcome back to our special coverage here on the Fox News Channel, and we continue now with Catholic theologian and author Michael Novak and the news director of Catholic News Network EWTN, Raymond Arroyo. Final thought from both of you, and I'd like you to address this question that was brought up in the last segment about a European versus a non-European pope. This pope obviously brought Catholicism and the church to the farthest reaches of the world. Is it important, let me begin with you, Mr. Arroyo, to have a non-European pope?
I think, this is sort of like trying to play the parlor game, Chris. You end up trying to pick something that will be a surprise for all of us. Do I think that it might be a European? Yes, I think it might be a European, simply because we've had a non-European for so long, or a man from the East, certainly, for so long. Whether it will be an African or South American, it would be exciting. We'd all love it in the media. I don't quite know how it would play out in the church, but it would certainly be exciting and something to watch and galvanize that throbbing, growing part of Catholicism in the world.
And Michael Novak, your final thoughts on this issue.
There are some great people in Africa and in Latin America. There's a man in Argentina and a man in Honduras that people have spoken of. There's Cardinal Arinze, who's a wonderful humorist, wise man from Africa. So it very well could be someone from that growing part of the world. Catholicism is the fastest growing religion in the world, Islam right behind it. And most of that growth, as you note, is in the South and in Asia. But golly, there's also a reason to think it might be an Italian. The Pope has been traveling all over the world, and there's some thought that we need some attention to the home base, and who better than an Italian to take a look at that and put that in shape. But we don't know. Honestly, we would be
Michael
surprised.
Novak, whoever it is, it's going to be someone who has to fill some very big shoes indeed and live up to an extraordinary legacy. We want to thank both of you for joining us tonight. Be sure to stay tuned to the Fox News Channel for all the latest developments throughout the night. Our special coverage of the life and legacy of Pope John Paul II continues now with John Scott in New York. John?
Chris, thank you. We're going to take a look live at St. Peter's Square in just a moment. Thousands of people gathered there earlier today, although the square is somewhat more empty now. They are praying for Pope John Paul II. 10 p.m. now in New York, 5 a.m. at the Vatican, where those folks have gathered. At this hour, the Vatican says 84-year-old Pope John Paul II is in grave condition and very near death. Let's check in now with Fox's Rick Leventhal, who is joining us live from Rome. Rick?
John, at its peak, we're told that there were as many as 70,000 people in St. Peter's Square earlier today. As you mentioned, the number is very small at this point, although we just took a walk through there. A few hundred people certainly here at 5 a.m. local time. And I talked to a few of the young people who are gathered out there, people who are planning to spend the night here in the Vatican, and some of them are American students. A couple of kids from Temple University who we spoke with a short time ago who described this is a very important time, explaining why they were here, calling Pope John Paul II an incredible person who unites everybody from multiple denominations, that this is an amazingly religious time for them. In fact, some of them who told me they are not personally religious but marveled at the faith on display out here, saying this was an intense and powerful and inspirational time for them. As you mentioned, though, the news not good for Pope John Paul II, who is said to be very near death with heart problems, kidney problems, shortness of breath, trouble breathing, and also with dangerously low blood pressure. That was the last word from the Vatican several hours ago. We haven't heard an official report from them in some time, and many of the people in the square are still holding out hope and watching very closely the Pope's third-floor apartment there. 2 windows lit. His bedroom window is not lit, and some people taking that as a sign. As you mentioned, last report, the Pope was in very grave condition and not expected to survive several days, perhaps not even several hours. The head of the Vatican's healthcare office saying the Pope is on the verge of death, and there is, in fact, no more hope. But certainly, special masses have been held here in Rome and around the world celebrating the Pope's life, celebrating his transforming the Catholic Church, recognizing his strength and his determination. This is a man who survived an assassin's bullet, John, as you know, and many other health issues. And again, the vigil here outside the Vatican continues. John?
In Pope John Paul's native country of Poland, people have been rushing to church to pray. Fox News Channel's Amy Kellogg is joining us now from Krakow, Poland. Amy?
John, there have been some very somber and very moving scenes across the city of Krakow tonight. You can see behind me there are people keeping a vigil outside the Archbishop's residence here. Now, their numbers have thinned considerably. Of course, it's 5 a.m. here in Krakow as well, but there's been a steady stream throughout the night. Krakow really is the Pope's city, though he was born and raised in nearby Wadowice. He spent much of his adult life here. He studied clandestinely at great personal risk for the priesthood here during the Nazi occupation. He was ordained in Krakow and served his first Mass here. He often referred to the city as my Krakow and was said to have also remarked that the people of Krakow always do the right thing. And since last night, since Thursday evening, they have been out en masse praying for the Holy Father. Again, I mentioned this is the Archbishop's residence. This is where the Pope lived when he was the Archbishop of Krakow, John. This is also where he stayed during the many visits he made back to his homeland during his pontificate. And behind me is the window of the room where he always stayed, and people have been looking up at that window. Earlier they were out here by the hundreds, candles in hand, singing his favorite songs, reading prayers, and it was so moving, John, it was almost as if they were expecting him to appear again at that window. Now, when they weren't praying or singing, there was such an eerie and reflective silence here. You could almost hear a pin drop. There have been a lot of young people, and I might say primarily young people here, which is quite striking. The Pope, ever since his early days as a priest, always reached out to young people, and at least particularly here in Poland, they embraced that love, even referring to him at the time he became Pope informally and affectionately as uncle. Now, of course, Poles know that the Pope belongs to everyone, but they do feel certain proprietary feelings about him. He is their national symbol and has done so much for them over the years. John.
Amy, I don't know if you have the answer to this question. There's been some speculation, apparently, that the Pope might have chosen to be buried in Krakow in the Wawel Cathedral there. Is that discussion causing much of a buzz in Poland?
It's been talked about always, John. People here have said that they understand that the Pope wants to be buried here in Krakow. Members of his family are buried here, and he feels such a strong attachment to Poland that they believe he does want to be buried here. We haven't heard, I don't believe officially from the Vatican where the Pope will finally be laid to rest when he does pass away, which of course at some point is inevitable, and talk has been going on about this for years. But people here, of course, would love to have him returned home. As I said, they feel he's a national symbol, John. They're so proud of everything he's done. He came from such obscurity in a small town and rose to the exalted position of Pope. So that is really the sentiment here.
Amy Kellogg reporting live from Krakow. Thank you, Amy. Joining us now from Washington, Father Tom Weinandy, the spokesman for the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Father Weinandy, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Let's talk about the burial of the Pope. It is kept secret until after the time of his death. First of all, why?
Where he's going to be buried?
Yeah, most popes this century have chosen to be buried in St. Peter's Basilica, right?
That's right. And traditionally now in the crypt underneath the main body of the church is where most of the bishop or the popes have been buried. And I presume that John Paul will be buried there.
But there is some discussion that he might have chosen to go back home to Poland to be buried in Krakow. Would that surprise you if he had made that choice?
Yes, I think it would surprise me because being the Pope, he's the head of the entire Catholic Church throughout the world, and Rome is the center of the Catholic Church, and so I would imagine that he would be buried in St. Peter's in Rome. But I have no idea what his personal wish or will is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be surprised if he did was buried outside of Rome.
This is a pope who's done a lot of surprising things over his papacy, though, hasn't he?
Well, he has, yes. I mean, he has been a pope of surprises. Whether this will be one of them, I don't know.
What are his accomplishments when you look back over the 26 years that he has been the leader of the Roman Catholic Church? What do you think is his primary contribution?
Well, there's been many contributions. I think one of them has been his evangelization throughout the entire world. I think he sees a real need to preach the gospel and to proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord. And he has done that in so many ways, in so many countries, to so many millions of people, that he's made an impression, not only the people who have come to see him, but through the television coverage throughout the world, that the gospel has been proclaimed by the Pope. And I think they'll remember how many people throughout the world have been attracted to him through his many pilgrimages to the various countries. I think, too, in the area of ecumenism, there's been a great deal of success in the Pope in bringing together Catholics and Protestants. The Church is still divided, but the Pope has presented himself very well as the one who wants the Church to breathe with both lungs, the East and the West, the Catholics and Protestants, and he has been, the Protestants have come to love him, and I think that that must continue with the next Pope as well.
Father Tom Weinandy, the spokesman for the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, thank you. Coming up, we'll bring you the very latest on the Pope's condition, and we'll take a look back at Pope John Paul's extraordinary life, some pictures you might never have seen. They're available to us here at Fox, and we'll share them with you. You're looking live at St. Peter's Square, where 84-year-old Pope John Paul II lies near death. We'll be right back.
This has been an extraordinary human being, a man who loved everybody, and I think there are so many people who love him, and we all become conscious of it on a day like this.
Trust. It's everything. Nobody hands out trust. Talent is one thing. Combine talent with people you trust, and you will walk on that court with a level of respect no one can match.
Ask your financial advisor about the Hartford Mutual Funds, offered by the Hartford, a company built on 194 years of trust. Request a complete prospectus with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing or sending money.
Click on Alamo.com now to enter the Alamo.com Family Vacation Sweepstakes. If you've wanted to take a Disney vacation, this is the perfect time during Disney's happiest celebration on Earth. Alamo is giving away 300 family vacations to Walt Disney World Resort or Disneyland Resort, including 5 days, 4 nights, round-trip airfare for 4, hotel accommodations, park tickets, and rental car. Just visit Alamo.com for a chance to celebrate 50 years of magic at Disney Parks. Alamo.com, the official website of the American Vacation.
To get a free trial of prescription Actonel that can help you fight osteoporosis, keep listening. My mother always said, don't slump or you'll get your grandmother's hump. That hump wasn't a slump. It was tiny fractures caused by osteoporosis. Actonel once a week helps prevent postmenopausal osteoporosis to help your bones stay strong and fight fracture.
You should not take Actonel if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for 30 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Actonel and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
Actonel can't unslump a hump, but it can help fight fractures. Visit fightfracture.com or call 1-800-803-6435 and we'll send you a certificate for a free 1-month supply of Actonel. Talk to your doctor to find out if Actonel is right for you and help fight fracture with Actonel.
He's used his charisma so that people who may not even agree with him come out and weep when they see him. He's a iconic figure of huge magnitude.
The papacy of Pope John Paul II is the third longest in papal history. He's been Pope more than 26 years now. Tonight, the Pope lies in grave condition, and people around the world are standing vigil, praying for him. Joining us in Washington, Father William Stetson, director of the Catholic Information Center. Father Stetson, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you.
When the Pope does pass away, how will we know?
Well, perhaps you'll know because the lights go out in the papal apartment. It could be because Cardinal Ruini, the Pope's vicar for Rome, comes forward and proclaims that he has died. It could be that the papal press secretary or somebody from that office would call a press conference. I don't know exactly which way. According to the Constitution for the election of the Pope, it should be the Pope's vicar for Rome, Cardinal Ruini.
And for the Catholic faithful, will that be a moment of grief or of relief that his suffering is over?
I think that it will be both. That is, of grief because a beloved father has passed, that his family has accompanied him around the world into the moment of his death. But I won't say relief. I think of joy of knowing that God has received him into the glory of heaven and the reward of his stewardship as in Christ's vicar here on earth for 26 plus years. And I think we should look at it from that point of view. I think the Pope he's more than just the phrase, the Holy Father. He is a Pope who is a very holy man.
Americans of all faiths, and even some who profess no faith, have been obviously watching the Pope as he declined into his current situation. What is the lesson for the way he has conducted himself during his serious illness?
I think the lesson is for the whole world of a man who has lived his life of faith. That is, his belief in Jesus Christ, who is the light of the world, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And to the very end of his human life here on earth, he has lived that in truth, those truths to the full. I think that is a witness, which is a witness of evangelization. At the same time, it's consistency. That is, his whole life is coherent from beginning until end with what he believes. Even for those who do not believe what he believes, they see a man who has lived his life to the full with exuberance and with cheerfulness in dedication to what he believed in. For Catholics, we all believe the same things, and I think many Christians, of all Christians, believe most of the teachings of the fundamental teachings, mere Christianity, as it were, of C.S. Lewis, of Christianity.
Father Stetson, I know you've got many more stories to share. We'd like to hear them, and we want to bring you back just a little bit later on. Thank you.
Okay.
Coming up, exclusive video of the Pope from the past 26 years. We will show you some of the most memorable moments of his extraordinary life, pictures you've probably never seen before. And you're looking live now at St. Peter's Square. Notice those two lights burning up in the upper center of the screen. Pope John Paul II is near death in his apartment there where those lights are. His body is failing. He is clinging to life at this moment. We'll let you know the moment that there is a change in his condition.
We know that his teaching is a true light about our faith and morality. At the same time, we appreciate everything what this particular Pope has done, not only for the Church, but also for whole humanity.
Introducing the new Cadillac STS. Let's dance. Break through.
Attractive lease or purchase offers available. Visit your local Cadillac dealer.
I don't look at myself as a basketball coach. I look at myself as a leader who happens to coach basketball. When they get out into the workplace, they're armed with not just a jump shot or a dribble. I want you armed for life. You know, I want you to develop as a player. I want you to develop as a student. And I want you to develop as a human being. My life isn't about playing games. That's why my card is American Express.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're the same brand, but this medication costs a lot less and is delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MED difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
Ready to make the move to Levitra for a strong, lasting experience? Ask your doctor if Levitra's right for you. Levitra is what many men with ED count on for a strong, lasting erection, for that quality sexual experience. Strong and lasting. When he wants it, it's what Levitra's all about.
Levitra is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. Do not take Levitra if you take nitrates for chest pains or alpha blockers for prostate problems or high blood pressure, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects may include headache, flushing, and stuffy or runny nose. In the rare case an erection lasts for more than 4 hours, seek immediate medical attention.
Strong, lasting. Experience Levitra for yourself. If you're on another ED treatment, maybe it's time to try Levitra. Ask your doctor about a free sample.
This is it. Hyundai's once-a-year spring sales event with up to $2,500 cash back on select models and limited-time-only savings on the V6 Hyundai Santa Fe. Feature-packed and the winner of Strategic Vision's 2004 Total Quality Award. That award-winning quality lets Hyundai offer America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. But you have to hurry. The event ends May 2nd, only at your Hyundai dealer. See your Hyundai dealer for up to $2,500 cash back before time runs out.
Be a part of history. Celebrate the 40th anniversary of the gay and lesbian civil rights movement. Join us Sunday, May 1st at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where it all started, as we honor 40 heroes and gay pioneers. Experience 16 hours of celebration and substance with a street festival, entertainment, concert, interfaith worship, and more. Equality Forum presents over 60 programs, parties, and special events from April 25th through May 1st. For more information, visit equalityforum.com.
This man has served the church for so many years that for so many people, especially young people, he really is the only Pope, the Holy Father, the chief shepherd that they've ever known. And for so many young Catholics, their life and faith has been significantly shaped.
The Pope lies in grave condition right now at his apartment in the Vatican. At this hour, cardinals from around the world are preparing to head to Rome. Joining us from Philadelphia, Cardinal Justin Regali. Cardinal Regali, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome, John.
You are one of those who will be voting for a new pope at whatever time this pope passes. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Well, you know, one of the unique features of the election of a pope is because of the fact that it has such great consequences that it's not only a question of the electors, the 118 cardinals that will participate in the actual election, but these electors feel a great deal of support from people throughout the world that are praying. So we believe that this process involves prayer. We believe that it involves the assistance of the Holy Spirit, and we need God's help, and therefore we appeal to the people of the world to support us, and we must say that we're very grateful for the wonderful support that is given. So the cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel, and they are the ones that actually cast the ballots, but we believe that they represent so much more because of the support given by the people throughout the world.
I'm sure that when the moment comes, it'll be incredibly solemn and awe-inspiring, but from your own viewpoint, what are the qualities that you look for, or what makes you cast your ballot for one particular individual?
Well, you know, it's the custom of the cardinals. It's also mentioned in the document of the Pope to wait until the Holy Father is dead, until he has actually passed, before discussing the actual process, before discussing the actual candidates and qualities. We believe that there's another moment to do that, and right now our concentration is on praying for the Pope, praying that God will give him strength, that he will accept him into his kingdom. And so we want to reserve the election and the discussion of the election until later on, when the cardinals can gather together and when the process of the support of the people has taken place. And at that time, we'll have clearer ideas. But in the meantime, we're trying to invoke the assistance of the Holy Spirit.
Speaking about some of the changes that have taken place in the Vatican under this Pope, one of them, it has been said that in the past, one never knew when a Pope was in declining health. It's been said that, frequently a Pope was fine one day and then the next day he was gone. And that the Vatican has sort of changed, become more open about the fading health of this particular pope. Do you agree with that notion, first of all?
John, I have heard that too. But you know, I actually spent 30 years in Rome. I was in St. Peter's Square when John the 23rd died on the 4th of June, 1963. So I think that actually that's quite exaggerated. But there certainly is an increased effort on the part of the Vatican throughout all these years in every aspect of social communications to see that there is greater dialogue, greater exchange. And so this would certainly explain a special effort that is made at this time to keep the people informed of what is going on and how the Holy Father is reacting.
And as you pray tonight, what will be in those prayers?
Well, we pray that God will reward our Pope and that he will be serene, that he will be peaceful to the very end. He has given this wonderful example of generosity and dedication, and this last moment is very important because this is the culmination of his life. The way that he has taught all these years, he's taught the value of human life. He's taught the value of human dignity, even when people are impaired. And now he is living this mystery, and he's living his infirmity with a great deal of dignity. So we ask God to sustain him, and when it is time to take him, to reward him for the wonderful service that he's given not only to the Catholic Church, but to humanity as a whole.
Cardinal Justin Regali of Philadelphia, we appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Now we want to bring back Father William Stetson, director of the Catholic Information Center. Father Stetson, we were talking about the legacy of this Pope. What are the primary, the things for which he will be most remembered?
Well, I think one of the things for which he will be most remembered is his influence on young people. That there's so many young people all over the world who have resonated to his word from the day of his election, and even just this past week, shouting of young people in Holy Week, when they had an audience, expecting an audience with the Holy Father, that they applauded and sang to him, although he was silent in the papal palace because of his illness. I think that's one thing, and there's so many people, young men, who have found their vocation to the priesthood by seeing the example of the Holy Father. I think that's one of the things of his legacy. I also want to say something. I believe in 1979, in October, I believe it was, when the Holy Father was in New York for the first time, Archbishop Fulton Sheen referred to him, said one day he will be known as John Paul the Great. And I think that there is a historical parallel there that most people probably don't realize, that Gregory the Great in the 6th and 7th centuries set the tone of the Church for perhaps 1,000 years. And I think that the papacy of John Paul II, because of his years, but because of his reaching out to the whole world, has set a pattern for his successors. A difficult pattern to follow, but I'm sure that the Holy Spirit will assist whoever is elected to take his place to continue on the same path that he has marked out. And reaching out to the whole world, being the leader of the new evangelization, the new spreading of the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the world.
I remember the younger and vigorous Pope who used to be seen on skis from time to time, comparing that with the man that we've seen these last couple of months as his illness has become so severe. It is a very realistic, a very, I guess, honest display of the cycle of life.
It is. My eyes are going to the DVD that you're showing, the video, And that scene of the clown with the Pope is one of the most intriguing. See how he bends over in laughter. That is John Paul II. And that's how I think we want to remember him. With young people, with a youthful heart and a youthful spirit and a great sense of humor. I think that's part of his legacy.
Father William Stetson, Director of the Catholic Information Center, thank you.
Welcome.
Coming up, we will go back to the Vatican for a late update on the condition of Pope John Paul II.
For over 50 years, Dreyfus has taken a disciplined approach to investing. When we find a company that meets our exacting criteria, we make a move. Dreyfus, the strength of investing. Contact your advisor for a prospectus with information on a fund's investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
We're serving the residents of Happy Woods much better ever since we got Verizon Wireless Push to Talk. It's great for quick exchanges. Subject's arm. I'm gonna need backup. And on the same phone, we can make regular cellular calls on the nation's most reliable wireless network. Mrs. Johnson, your daughter here was caught speeding down Pine Street.
Now buy our exclusive LG VX 4700 and get up to 4 free. 2 ways to talk from Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you.
Good.
I know plenty about chronic dry eye. My doctor explained that it's a condition where my eyes don't make enough tears, and that the eye drops I've been using couldn't help increase tear production. He gave me a prescription for Restasis. It's the only eye drop that helps your eyes increase tear production with continued use.
Talk to your eye doctor today to find out if Restasis is right for you. Go to Restasis3.com or call 1-866-379-3933 to get this free information kit. Restasis helps increase your natural ability to produce tears, which may be suppressed by inflammation due to chronic dry eye. It should not be used by patients with active eye infections and has not been studied in patients with a history of herpes viral infections of the eye. The most common side effect is a burning sensation.
1 drop twice a day, every day, helps me make more of my own tears. My tears. Gotta love it. Thanks, Restasis.
The Pope in grave condition as the Pontiff struggles with a serious health crisis. We're in Vatican City with live reports and all the latest developments. For continuing coverage and analysis of the Pope's health, stay with Fox News Channel. Tonight, stay with our special continuing coverage. The world watches over Pope John Paul II. As events unfold, our team is live with news as it breaks. For the very latest on the state of the Pope, stay with the Fox News Channel.
Right now, hundreds of people are still out there in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican praying for the Pope and watching those 2 lights you see in the center top of your screen. The lights on in the Pope's apartment, apparently still an indication that he is still alive. More than 1 billion Catholics around the world are joining in prayers for the Pope. Nearly 70,000 people gathered at the Vatican earlier today. The Pope lies near death, but decided to spend his final hours in his home rather than in a hospital. Want to check back in now with Fox's Rick Leventhal. He joins us from the Vatican. Rick?
John, obviously the scene much quieter now than it was when we got here much earlier this evening. It's now roughly 5:30 a.m. local time, so the streets are relatively quiet. We'll give you a look up the Via della Conciliazione here. As you see, one vehicle just driving up the road there. There were police cars moments ago blocking this road, and they were not allowing any traffic through. You see the barricades. You probably see the police cars further on down there on the way to St. Peter's Square. And we do have, as you mentioned, a few hundred people who are there and have been there all night long. As you mentioned earlier, tens of thousands filling the square, but now a much smaller crowd. But they are they're lighting candles, they're holding vigils, they're saying prayers, and they are keeping an eye on those windows in the Pope's residence. There are 2 windows lit. The Pope's bedroom window is not. And John, while we know that the Pope was last reported in very grave condition, we have not had a report on his condition from the Vatican in many hours now, and we are expecting that sometime perhaps after the sun rises, we'll get an update on Pope John Paul II. John?
And I expect about that same time, Rick, that square is going to fill with people once again.
Absolutely. I mean, the crowd, as you mentioned earlier, estimated at up to 70,000. They're saying we could have well over 100,000 here during the daytime on Saturday. And for that reason, the police are increasing their presence at the train station, the bus stations. We're expecting probably more roads will be closed. There were many officers out here scanning the crowd and protecting certain areas of the square here, and we're expecting that presence could in fact increase as this day progresses. John?
Rick Leventhal, live at the Vatican. Thank you, Rick. Our next guest was there when Pope John Paul II was elected Pope. Father Vincent O'Keefe joins us now on the phone. It was, Father O'Keefe, such a surprise, as I recall, that a non-Italian, a fellow from Poland, had been chosen to head the Roman Catholic Church.
Yes, that was a surprise to us all, because the way the conclave was going, it seemed to go the usual route. Neither one of the two Italian candidates would get a majority, so they settled for a compromise candidate. But in the second conclave, the other bishops objected. We said, no, we don't want to go this usual route, especially Cardinal Koenig from Vienna. And he was the one who brought strong emphasis to Wojtyła, so that when he was elected, people were quite happy, and they said, well, we've made progress. Not only have we've moved on now, we didn't move to an Italian, we moved to someone from another country, and this was great. And I think this will influence the conclave that will be coming up after the Holy Father goes to his reward.
Wojtyła being the name of the Cardinal Karol Wojtyła before he became Pope.
Exactly.
So you think that there may be another non-Italian Pope coming up?
Well, I think it's a possibility. You know, there's always a dynamic to these meetings of the cardinals. And the last chance we had to look at them was, precisely as you said, 1978. And they moved there away from an Italian to another European. Well, it could be that given the dynamic of this coming conclave, they'll move to somebody outside Europe. That would be a next step. So, and you'd say, well, look at the importance that the Latin American church has today. They say about half of the Catholics in the world live in Latin America. They have some wonderful members of the hierarchy. Could this be the next step, that they move not only to a non-Italian, but to a non-European? For example, one from Latin America. I think there are different scenarios, that we can entertain now, and we'll only know when the actual event takes place. But I do recall that day when Cardinal Wojtyła came out on the balcony as John Paul II, and when it was announced that the new Pope's name was Karol first, and then Wojtyła, the crowd was amazed, and the crowd all chanted, Mamma mia, è un africano. My goodness, it's an African. And then another crowd said, no, it's a Japanese, è un giapponese. So it was quite a moment. And then he came, and we knew from that moment that this man was going to take charge. The master of ceremonies said to him, just give them your blessing. Well, he'd have none of that. He began to talk in Italian, and he had the crowd with him. He said, I'm speaking in Italian, and I ask you to help me with my Italian, and if I make a mistake, you'll correct me. Well, they loved it. So he had contact, from the first moment that he was Pope, and he never lost that.
As you've been speaking, we've been looking at some of the very rarely seen video that we have here at Fox News Channel of the Pope during some of his travels. The Pope is a much younger man. He was what, only 58 when he was elected?
That's right,
is that
58.
Right? Hard to remember. We've been so sort of consumed by his illness over these past couple of months. Hard to remember how young and vigorous he was when he took office. Is that going to be, do you think, an important factor as the next Pope is elected?
I think so. The Pope John Paul II went to the people, and I think his successor will have to. Also, I think they'll look to a man who does know some languages. John Paul II was just tremendous with his languages, but he did go out to the people. And in those early days, that was quite extraordinary that the Pope was traveling like that. Paul VI had started a bit, but nothing like this. So that every time the Pope went on a trip, you had two different planes. One was the Vatican group with the Pope, and then a group of journalists. And the good old journalists, the Vatican's plane was called Shepherd One. I was with the journalist, and they christened our plane Wolf One. So there was a lot of fun, but I couldn't believe the energy of the Pope. He ran us into the ground. He was, we would get off early in the morning. He would go to all these places. He would give a talk. He'd do this and that. We couldn't keep up with him. And from that, I said, my goodness, this is one vigorous man.
Father Vincent O'Keefe, who was there when Pope John Paul II was elected. Father O'Keefe, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Joining us now right here in our studios, Suzanne Razdiba. She had an incredible opportunity just recently, and I guess you were one of the last people to participate in a public audience with the Pope, or not even a public audience, a private audience.
Yes, our private audience was actually the last private audience that the Pope had before he fell ill.
Because of the illness?
Well, yes. I mean, we got to meet the Pope on January 29th, and the day after that, he actually announced that he had the flu. And it was an incredible experience. It was a group of about 30 Poles from New Jersey and Manhattan.
There's the picture of you with the Pope?
Yes, exactly.
Now, are you particularly well connected with the Vatican? I mean, is that how does that happen that you sort of walk in and get a meeting with the Pope?
Well, it was actually a very interesting story. A family friend is a singer in a choir in New Jersey, and she went to go sing for a special mass at the Vatican in front of the Pope. And the Pope loved it so much. It was a Polish choir, that the Pope's nurse, who is Polish, a woman named Eva, she befriended this woman and said that the Pope would love for her to come back with some family members and some friends, and he'd love to just sit down and talk with a group of Polish Americans.
And you were part of that group?
Yes, I was part of that group.
So you spoke to him in Polish?
Yes. The nurse actually told us that is the language that he prefers to be addressed by the people who are closest to him.
What did you talk about?
Well, we talked about the time when we went to go visit his hometown, Wadowice, in Poland. Our family went there, and we showed him a picture, and he was so ecstatic when he heard about that. I mean, we talked about Krakow. My mother was actually confirmed by the Pope, and so we were just chatting about, some of whether he misses Poland and what he thinks about, Poland now and Polish Americans. And he was in a very good mood, and we were all actually saying that we were surprised at how good he looked. He was sitting up straight. He had color in his cheeks. He was laughing. He was very, very happy.
Yeah, surprising. I mean, that was what, January 29th, a little more than 2 months ago.
Yes.
And how quickly he has declined since then. What memory of that event will you treasure?
I think the biggest memory is when we were thinking the night before about what we would be saying to the Pope. And my sister was saying she was going to talk to him about the downfall of communism. And, someone else was saying they were going to go into some deep topic. And when you actually get there, you're so stunned that you can't say a word. And, just when he reaches out, when he touches you, it's like he's looking into your soul.
Suzanne Razdiba, who met with the Pope January 29th. Suzanne, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Coming up, Pope John Paul II had a tremendous impact on international affairs. He visited 129 countries and territories in his papacy. We're going to take a look at how he changed the world coming up. You're looking live at the Vatican, where people from all walks of life gathered throughout the day to stand vigil beneath the Pope's third-floor apartment. We will let you know the moment there is a change in his condition. You're watching Fox News Channel.
One primary message from all his teachings was that courage. And that went not only when he was healthy, but through his assassination and through his sickness over the last number of years.
Trailers don't have anti-lock brakes, crumple zones, or airbags. That's why we designed the new Ford Super Duty with the only integrated trailer brake controller, part of our exclusive Tow Command system. Because what good is towing a 19,200-pound trailer if you can't control it? This is the next Ford Super Duty, built Ford tough.
They're right behind me.
I see him.
Go south.
Head for the roof.
That way. I sent the package overnight.
Should be there by 8:30.
Should be there? Trust me, he'll be there.
The most trusted color on earth. UPS. What can brown do for you?
It's a school day imperfect. Here, students arrive in a timely fashion. There are always enough supplies to complete your class project. And even the teachers have a hard time coming in from recess. Of course, life isn't always perfect, so there's Walgreens, open every day, many 24 hours, with everything needed for school. That's life. This is Walgreens.
Women. They want to be strong and sweet forever. And they want to enjoy their calcium. One delicious Viactive Soft Calcium Chew twice a day has the calcium women need. Viactive. It's what women want.
There are two things we'd like you to help us with. Anna and I retire by 6.
There are times in life when you can really use expert financial advice. Northwestern Mutual Financial Network. The Quiet Company.
This man embraced cultures, nations. This man dealt with Jewish-Catholic relations. This man dealt with East and West conflicts. This man has dealt with a range of life issues, the big, big picture.
Right now, the sun is coming up in Krakow, Poland, where just hours ago thousands gathered to pay tribute to their ailing pontiff, Pope John Paul II, obviously from Poland. He has had an extraordinary impact on the world, making more than 100 trips outside Italy during his 26 years as Pope. Joining us from Denver, Claude Destry, a professor at the University of Denver. Thank you very much for being with us this evening.
A pleasure to be here.
The Pope is the most well-traveled Pope in history, more than 750,000 miles logged around this globe. What did he accomplish?
It's almost impossible to catalog everything that he did accomplish. I mean, from the very beginnings of returning to Poland and changing the face, the political face of Poland, to moving into the strongholds in Central and South America and dealing with many of the issues, dealing with the emergence of liberation theology, to the United States, dealing with emergence of feminist theology. His impact was enormous.
Ronald Reagan obviously has received a lot of credit for the fall of communism, his Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall speech, but many people give the Pope as much credit for the fall of communism in Poland and really all across the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, I think I would certainly agree with that. I think that, you remember that almost famous or infamous statement when an aide to Joseph Stalin said, was cautioning him about not upsetting or coming into conflict with the Roman Catholic Church, and Stalin's reply was, well, so how many divisions does the Pope have? Well, this Pope has certainly shown just how many divisions he has. I mean, he's a division unto himself. But I would certainly be comfortable in saying that this Pope was as critical as any U.S. foreign policy in bringing down the communist regime in Poland and transforming the whole Eastern Bloc political scene.
Interesting to note that presidents have come and gone while he has remained Pope over 26 years.
Yes, he's been a phenomenal, steadfast figure. I think that that he had much to accomplish. He had much on his plate that he wanted to accomplish, both on the international scene and within the church, I think within the church structure. I would say perhaps that he probably has some disappointments, the things that he hoped to be able to do, and perhaps there were others who also had very high expectations of this particular Pope, and may have been sort of surprised by his conservative demeanor within the structure of the church, because he certainly put forth a very progressive figure, a very energetic, vibrant, new face to the church that was welcome, and people had a great deal of anticipation. I think, on the most part, that we should not just judge the Pope by pictures we've seen of him in the past 5 or 10 years, an elderly, frail gentleman. But I think that he has always been vibrant, if not recently in body, has continued to be in mind, and has been enormously influential on not just the church and the church structure and the theology and its relationship to the rest of the world, but I think he's changed the face of the political face of Eastern Europe, and perhaps how we see the relationship between religion and politics.
Claude Destry from the University of Denver. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Coming up, an inside look at the assassination attempt that nearly took the life of the Pope shortly after he took office. It was more than 20 years ago. And taking a look live at the Vatican at this hour, the Vatican's health minister says Pope John Paul is in very grave condition. Keep it here for the very latest information.
Successful investing. At T. Rowe Price, it's about more than just hitting home runs. It's about a consistent, steady approach, year after year. Over 70% of our funds beat their 1, 5, and 10-year Lipper averages. Low-cost mutual funds from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a complete prospectus or profile with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing. Yep. Looks like the drain is clogged. Only one way to fix it. We're gonna have to tear down the entire house.
What? If you had a problem with the kitchen sink, you wouldn't tear down the entire house. So why dismantle Social Security when it could be fixed with just a few moderate changes? Reform is necessary, but diverting money into private accounts is just too drastic. Could add up to $2 trillion in more debt and lead to huge benefit cuts. For more, visit AARP.org. Paid for by AARP.
Andrea Pachinknikov had forged an impressive business career by thrusting when conventional wisdom told others to parry. So it came as no surprise that in matters of personal well-being, she was quick to shout, "En garde." She addressed her naysayers thus: "Why pay for insurance I shall scantily use?" The ensuing silence spoke volumes. Touche HSA, the Regent's Health Savings Account. Take charge healthcare, but take charge people.
At Pacific Continental, we know that sometimes all it takes to get your business off the ground and back up where it belongs is just a little well-timed draft. Pacific Continental. That's the PCB way.
Experience the internet like never before with Comcast high-speed internet. Powered by 100% pure broadband, you can watch the news unfold in full streaming video on Comcast.net, which also gives you access to your 7 different email accounts, even when you're away from home. There you'll also find The Fan, a unique way to view videos and content, and The Assistant, which lets you keep customized information on screen at all times.
Experience Tonkin.com using Comcast high-speed internet.
Comcast.
Pay-per-view.
ESPN Pay-Per-View Boxing presents 4 great fights on Saturday, April 23rd for only $29.95. Kermit Cintron takes on Antonio Margarito in a welterweight title fight. Sugar Shane Mosley versus David Estrada. Plus, WBA lightweight champion Juan Diaz versus Evo Elder. And heavyweights Brock versus McCline.
Get the best seat for fight night, live April 23rd. Call Comcast now to order.
He stated after the assassination attempt on him in '81 that he basically said that his life is and always will be in God's hands, and so ultimately I think he's at peace, and he's allowing himself to put himself in God's hands. I think he's at peace, and I think he puts the rest of the world at peace.
The Pope has overcome many tragedies in his life, none more threatening than that 1981 assassination attempt on him. The Pope was shot as he rode across St. Peter's Square in an open car. With us now in New York, David Van Bima, senior religion writer for Time magazine. Mehmet Ali Ajka, the Turkish gunman who tried to kill the Pope. What was he trying to accomplish?
I'm not certain that anybody really knows exactly what he was trying to accomplish. He gave a variety of explanations. He had killed a journalist previously in Turkey, for which he continues to serve time. There was a tremendous amount of speculation after the assassination attempt as to who was behind it. Some people suggested that it was the Bulgarian Secret Service working for the Russians. But at the time when that plan would have been put together, the Pope had not yet become the hero of solidarity that might have given the Soviets reason to assassinate him. So it remained unclear.
The fact that he didn't die, I mean, Ajka couldn't believe that he didn't kill him. I mean, he was fairly close. Mm-hmm. It was.
The Pope regarded it as a miracle and attributed it to the Virgin Mary.
And then what some would see as just as miraculous is the fact that he forgave him. The Pope forgave him, and actually, didn't he actually help Ajka get out of prison? Mm-hmm. Tell us that story.
I believe that is indeed the case. Although, of course, he was then extradited to Turkey.
Sent back to Turkey to serve time for the crime that you just
the other
discussed.
Crime. Right. That's correct. I think that the Pope saw a connection between the miracle that he thought that the Virgin had performed on his behalf and the forgiveness of the shooter. He saw them as part of. They were both intertwined deeply with his piety. He had the bullet soldered into the crown of the statue of the Virgin at Fatima in Portugal, and I think it was an extraordinary example of the way that an otherworldly faith can then turn around and cause great good in the world.
I'm sure we'll be reading more of your thoughts on the Pope in Time magazine. David Van Bima, thank you.
Thank you.
We are keeping a close eye on the Vatican as the sun is about to come up in Rome. The 84-year-old Pope's health is declining rapidly. His heart and kidneys failing, his blood pressure dangerously low. But the two lights in the window at the center top of your screen there say that the Pope is still alive. If that changes, we will alert you the moment it happens. Keep it here on Fox News Live.
Designed to captivate. Designed to illuminate. The luxury sedan designed to outperform. Introducing the all-new M from Infiniti.
You are unique. Raymond James Financial Advisors know this. With one of the most comprehensive ranges of financial services and a culture of independence, they have the freedom to offer unbiased advice that's right for you. Raymond James, individual solutions from independent advisors.
For you, my sweet. I see you are overcome with love. Or could it be congestion and other seasonal nasal allergy symptoms? Your congestion will not keep us apart.
Only Nasonex is clinically proven to both treat and help prevent most seasonal nasal allergy symptoms, including congestion. Side effects were generally mild and included headache, viral infection, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing.
Love means never having to say you are congested.
To treat and help prevent most seasonal nasal allergy symptoms, Nasonex is the one. Talk to your doctor.
Introducing Ortho Weed B Gone Max. So revolutionary, it targets and kills the toughest weeds without harming your lawn. Weed B Gone Max sprayed here. Ordinary weed killer here. Only Weed B Gone Max has a foaming action and weed targeting formula for total root kill. So it killed the weeds, but not the grass. The ordinary weed killer didn't target anything. So it killed everything. New Ortho Weed B Gone Max kills weeds, not lawns. Guaranteed.
The Pope in grave condition as the pontiff struggles with a serious health crisis. We're in Vatican City with live reports and all the latest developments. For continuing coverage and analysis of the Pope's health, stay with Fox News Channel. Tonight, stay with our special continuing coverage. The world watches over Pope John Paul II. As events unfold, our team is live with news as it breaks. For the very latest on the state of the Pope, stay with the Fox News Channel.
Right now, the Pope is spending his final hours, possibly his final minutes, in his third-story apartment over St. Peter's Square. We will continue to update you on any changes in his condition. Our special coverage continues in just a moment. Looking live right now at St. Peter's Square, where dawn is ready to break.